Hi, good morning. I'm sure a lot of you will remember, like we're saying this like we're celebs, Emma, Emma and I, when I had my radio show, used to do Mum's Hour. So it was lovely that Emma agreed to come back and do Mum's the Word interviews. So I'll let you introduce yourself, Emma, and your children as well, and their ages, please.
Okay, so I am Emma, as just described. I am a counsellor and I also teach counselling. Busy life. I've got two girls who are now 15 and 13, Poppy and Hope, and yeah, just life is busy with them.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, and that's just thing, isn't it? So Emma and I used to work together when they were teenies, and I think I'm sure I'd only just had Dylan as well when you were working together, or Dylan was around and a baby. But that's going to be a bit of our topic of conversation today. So Emma has written in the chapter of my book called, Sand Slips Through Your Feet. Is that the right one to saying? Where sand slips with feet. But basically it's a chapter that focuses on, how childhood, with a blink of an eye, and then, like we say, there are teens or they may be fleeing the nest. So I'm doing this interview on a Wednesday, and Gracie May left school on Friday. So she's on day 3 of being independent and being here, there and everywhere. So she's not a tea with us for 3 days. So all this is all very new. And I am aware that probably the most anxious at the moment went to see Arctic Monkeys, took her to see Arctic Monkeys the other day. I generally thought she'd stay with me. And as soon as we got in, she'd gone with her mate. So that was it. And Steve was like, well, what do you think is going to happen? I was like, well, she might get crushed in the crowd. She might, but we were still there. We were in the concert as well, but it's definitely a new phase. Have you experienced anything similar, particularly with now 15?
Yeah, it's really tough, isn't it? It's that kind of like, you want to let them go and you want to let them be independent, but you can't help but just constantly worry about them. Poppy went to Romania with school a couple of weeks ago, and I was absolutely fine about it. She was going for a week, and I was absolutely fine, hadn't really thought about it. And then I sat in a meeting where they talked about, obviously Romania is quite close to Ukraine, and talking about, just in case anything happened, this was the contingency plan, which is great. They were really open and organised about things. But that was a moment where I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, because I sat in that room and I thought, I'm not going to be able to get to her. Like, if something happens, I'm not going to be able to get to her. And it was like a real realization that this is kind of the future. This is what it's going to be like. They're going to be doing these things by themselves. And like, some of them are going to be far away.
Yeah.
And some of them are, even if they're close, they're going to be like, even maybe completely outside of anything I've experienced, so I can't support them with it. Just this real moment of, they're growing up and I can't protect them, maybe, or be there for them. Like, I can't even imagine the Poppies next year. We were having a conversation about this period between, like, when she finishes next year and the summer holidays, and I was saying, why don't we go, you and I will go and do something, a bit like with you and Grace May. I'll go and do something. Maybe we could go to Europe or something. We go and do something like that. And she's like, no, I don't want to go with you. I don't. And I'm thinking, this is our special time while you're still, but she's like, I want to spend time with my friends. And it's hard, isn't it? And I'm trying not to be all maudlin about it, but I just keep thinking, it does. People would say that it slips through your fingers, and it does. It really does.
Honestly, I remember going to do like a mock walk to secondary school with her, so we could work out the timings and when she needed to leave home and stuff. And I just can't get over that she's now left school, because that generally does seem, I know it's a cliche, but it does seem like we only did that about a year ago. And exams are done and she's left and she's got a job now. So that's really good. She's got her independence. But again, like the other day, Steve and I had COVID, so she had to move out because she was starting her GCSEs that week, so she had to go to CHAPMAN.
Yeah.
But she messaged me to say, I'm not very good at sending emails, so can you just help me with it? I was like, yes, I still have a purpose.
You need it. It was funny. That's exactly what it was like when she went to Romania. I'd never had so many text messages of like, can you just like help me to figure out how to say this to the girls that I'm sharing a dorm with, or even I miss you, Mom, you know. And there was one day where she was a bit down, so me and my husband like sent a silly picture, and she's just sent a message back saying, oh, I really miss you guys. And I was like, oh, she does still need us, she still loves us, she still wants us. God, I feel really needy and pathetic saying all that, but it does.
Oh, like, I was laughing at myself because I was like, yes.
Yeah. And it's funny because I feel like when people used to say to me, it'll be gone like that, I'd think, good, because you know, my relationship with motherhood has been a tricky one, you know, and actually I've probably enjoyed them being a bit older, a bit more independent, and kind of seeing the personalities. I've enjoyed that more than when they were really small. But yeah, just that kind of, I really thought when they become more independent, I'd be like, yes. I really didn't expect to be
so
here I am. Yeah.
Funny, and I definitely can see, I mean, I know because Dylan's only 10, he's 11 in November. I've got a while yet, but I can see that empty nest emerging, definitely, because I think we've done so much together as a 5. I do like it when all the chicks are back in,
yeah,
and we're here. So I think I'm quite traditional in that way. But you know, I do want them to go. Both of my boys are doing scout camp, summer camp for a week, and that's like so they break up from summer holidays on the Friday and they'll go camp on the Saturday for a week. Steve wasn't sure about Dylan, and I wouldn't have been if Lennon wasn't going, but I think with him having his older brother there, he's old enough to do this. But at the moment, I'm like, God, I just need that week because that'll be my last week of work before I take 2 weeks off, so I can get everything in order. But now the time's getting a bit close. I'm like, oh, yeah, God, will he be all right? Really? But what happens if you know? And I can't just go and pick him up. I'll have to plan it. It's in Wales, so it's not 100 miles away. But yeah, and it's one of them. You want them to go for other reasons, but I think, oh yeah, I want them to go have a break. Then when they go, oh, I do miss them.
I think that's it, isn't it? I just think it's like so many elements of parenthood, motherhood, you know, it's this idea that like everything's just so mixed. Like there is no like one feeling that comes with experience, you know, and with this, there is that kind of, I want them to be independent. There's a bit of me, my youngest is a little bit more of a home bird, and I can't see her going far away from home, and there's a bit of me that's like a bit annoyed at that, but also you know, if she were to go, I'd find it incredibly hard and miss her, you know. And it's just complicated, isn't it, you know?
Oh yeah, I've wrote that at the start of this chapter in my book. I call this like the treadmill of life, this stage, and I've said, you know, same shit, different day, and that's how I feel Monday to Thursday, and now Friday because we've got an activity on Friday as well. But I just burn, you know, the same week to get through to the weekends, and now both boys are in the football team, so weekends are not going to be a break either. But it's just to just get through. And I know the bit that overwhelms me is the texts and emails. I can't cope. I can't keep up.
From school, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. It's really funny. I was talking to a friend about it, an older friend, and they were saying, oh, we didn't have that when my kids were at school. And I was like, well, it's actually overwhelming. It's lovely. The school wants to include you, and I get it because I used to work in a school, I get the whole idea of the community, but it is absolutely overwhelming. And if you paid for this trip, and we're going here today, and this one needs dropping off there, this, and I'm thinking, me and my friends think it's hilarious because they're constantly messaging me, reminding me of everything that I've forgotten because it's just too much. And I've only got two.
Yeah. Oh, it just, I prefer it if it were all letters, because then I could divvy them all out, because that's how I work, very simple mind. And still cash, because I'd get the cash out weekend, make the envelopes up. We've just done it for Scouts, because Scouts still take cash bonus, because that's it. But all the emails, they get muddled up. But, you know, I'm thinking maybe I need to set up a folder and just work on them on a Sunday. But the other thing my kids do is they'll sort it all out themselves, fire play to them, and then they lay it all out on the table for me to just sign. I don't know where you're going.
What makes me laugh is Poppy will say to me, I gave, if you got that form for me? And I'm like, what form? I gave it to Dad. Why? Don't ever give it to your dad.
Yeah.
Just why would you do that? And then it's still in his car, like when she gave him, thinking, why have you given it to your dad? Oh yeah, bless him. But again, I suppose that's part of it, isn't it? It does, a lot of the organisation of it falls on our shoulders, I think, often.
Yeah.
And that's the difficulty, not always, but you know, the difficulty of being the mum is that responsibility does tend to fall on your shoulders, that organisation, that mental load of all that stuff that you've got to do. It's monotonous, it's hard work. And what are we going to do with ourselves when we haven't got it?
I know. And even just Sunday, I still ironed her uniform because I was donating it here to work. And I was like, I lost time of doing this skirt. She's like, well, I'm not bothered. Like, I am. You know, all that. I took a picture, I think you may have seen, and put it on Instagram. The last time all four of us had been in the car doing the school run, and then it's all that little thing that you moan about for 5 years or longer.
It's something, it really reminds me of something I saw, that it's like a Glennon Doyle or Brené Brown, something like that. And it was this whole idea, I think I might have posted it on my Instagram, that every moment with your child is kind of tinged with the sadness. Like it's like, I just want to capture this moment because it's going to go. And it's like, it's almost like you feel the joy and you feel the loss in the same moment because it's going to be gone. And like, you never really know when the last ones are of all these things. And I think often there's a real pressure because of that to cherish it all. But actually, it's impossible to cherish it all, you know. It just,
because it's so everything else going on, isn't it? And I think I've reflected about that. I really struggled with the playground when Gracie was younger. Felt very inadequate. A lot of different things. I worked with you, but I did a lot of the late shifts, didn't I? So I wasn't a prominent mum on the playground. But actually, when I look back now, some of my closest friends are the mums from Gracie's year. So it's like, gosh, all that anxiety, and I've made some real key friends on that journey, really, as well.
Yeah, you beat yourself up, don't you, for all of these things, and ultimately, like, even the things that really feel like they matter in the moment, they don't. Like, that's my experience. They don't, you know, they really felt like they mattered, but actually, my kids are all right.
Yeah.
And I'm all right, you know, and yeah, it's funny, isn't it, how that passage of time takes a sting out a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, I wrote a section on playground politics. And again, once they go to secondary school, you're very, very unlikely to see any of them parents again. You stay in touch with the ones that you want to stay in touch with. And again, it probably does matter. And I found it awkward on the playground at times. Forget about it, and I've never seen that mum again.
I hated it. I got to the last couple of years with the playground stuff, and I think it was like a whole journey of getting to know myself, and I realised, actually, why was I going on the playground? I was going on the playground so I could look like a good mum, and I could play the role. My kids didn't need me to be that, you know. Yes, so it's like taking the dog with me, and I can't go in with the dog, sorry. Outside, so kind of where you were off, and actually I was never happier than when I didn't have to kind of engage in all of that, you know, because it wasn't me. I'd never been that person who's like all involved in the community, you know, and not against it. It's just not who I am, you know. So I felt like, yeah, there's so much, isn't there, pressure on us to do all of this stuff and to be this, and from schools and everything, and it's a relief, I think, when they go to I found it a relief when they went to high school. It's like, I do not have to do any of that anymore.
Yeah
Really relief.
Yeah, and I was shocked how little contact, and like I say, you make contact with the ones that you want to, don't you, really? But yeah, it is just the school life is a journey in itself, really. It's definitely the longest chapter in my book, because I think it's covered a lot of dimensions: relationships, playground, mother and toddler groups around that side, and then going into school. My next chapter is mum of teens. And I'm kind of there already. And Lennon's sometimes not great at school, so I have 2 emails, so it's like that. So I've emailed the same teacher on a work issue, and then emailed the same teacher to say, I will make sure you do your homework. How does that work out?
It's that whole thing, isn't it? And there's a bit of me that sometimes when you hear that kind of stuff from teachers, like, what do you want me to do? Because like they're young people who are finding their own way, and I haven't got the same control of them that I used to, and I wouldn't really want the same control of them that I used to have. But also, like, I want them to do well at school, and I want them to but yeah,
and also I don't know if you're the same. Different parenting for different children.
Yeah. Totally different. Yeah, my eldest, that was a real moment with me, with my when I had my youngest. I was trying to parent her exactly the same way, and I was like, there was a point where I was like, what is wrong with her? Like, nothing.
It worked last time.
And I always tell the story about phoning up NHS 111 and like being like, what's up with my daughter? And they were like having a tantrum. I was like, what? I'm a good parent, because my first was like dead laid back. My youngest not laid back in any way, and I've totally had to parent her in a completely different way. And the way she engages with school and friends and all of that is so much, more drama. Than, because she's very emotional, than my eldest, who just, I'm not saying it's not been hard for her, hard for her in lots of ways, but she just gets on with it, and she doesn't. She has very few friends, and there's not all the drama and the boyfriends and all of that kind of stuff. It's just been so plain sailing. So yeah, the way you have to parent them,
that's fascinated me. Really fascinated me how you've had to tone it down. Like you said, Gracie just gets on with it. Len's got an answer for everything, and he's quick, and you're like, or he'll make me laugh, and then I've lost it completely then as a parent.
It's funny, isn't it? I always think it's really telling what pushes your buttons, with your kids. And my youngest, she pushes my buttons, but like, we laugh because we are so alike, that's why. And my eldest is so much like my husband, just like laid back, takes everything in his stride, in some ways. But yeah, it's I think it's really telling, the ones that push your buttons. That's usually like looking in the mirror, isn't it?
Yeah, because they know that would wind them up, so I'm going to say it to you in the first place.
Exactly that. Yeah, it's hard work, but also like just seeing, like, I love like seeing these little people that they're going to become, and like their opinions. Oh God, it's such a pleasure to watch these like little kids become like people. You know what I mean? I've enjoyed that so much, and I know like we're nowhere near the end of it, but like, it's been my favorite thing, I think, about as much as there's kind of a loss in that as well, of losing the child. I've really enjoyed that.
And the whole thing of the book is it's rewarding, it's honest opinions, and it's trials and tribulations along the way, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's a mixed bag.
So on that note, I'll say a huge thank you for your time, and thank you for helping with the book as well. And there will be a book launch, I promise.
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for having me, Kate.
Oh, thanks.